This video just got a little more technical than what I was planning on. If you're watching this video, then chances are you have an 04 to a 2008 F150, and one of two things. Either the inside of your roof has started getting wet and you're wondering why, and you figured out that it's your back tail light, or you've just lost the lens cover on your back tail light. What's going on, fellow fixers? I'm Jeremy, and I am a fixer. Today's video, we're fixing my F150 because the tail light is cracked. At some point it broke off completely. Thankfully it hasn't started leaking for me yet, but that's a common problem. I'm going to show you how to fix it. You can see here the lens cover is actually broken completely off. The screws are still in there, barely, and I just realized they're a little bit stripped out. So hopefully I can get that taken care of and fixed without any issues. I'm going to open up the door and get a screwdriver and wait for the lights to turn off. So this is the part that I got from Amazon. It is not the OEM version, and I'm hoping that it fits. It was significantly less money, but I like the fact that it's LED. And so here's what it looks like. It comes in this box. It's sort of got this gray smoke cover, but you can see that the tail lights are LED and the brake lights are LED as well. So should be simple plug and play, but yeah, you know how that goes. Sometimes that's not the case. I'm going to go ahead and pop off the old brake light and we'll see what we're working with. Just a simple Phillips head screw. Sure why I always choose to do this in the middle of the day in Florida. Okay. Alright, so it's stuck in there pretty good. You sort of got to pry it off. Alright, so the issue I can already tell is that there's 3 connectors here, and the one I have only has 1. So let's go take a look at it and see if we can make it work. Just like so. Okay. So the good news is that it fits. The bad news is, how do we make it work? Alright, so this is not going to be a plug and play installation. So if you're looking for that, I'm going to link down below to the OEM taillight. It will just literally be plug and play. Unplug the 3 connectors from the OEM one, plug them into the new one, screw it in, make sure you put the little seal around there to keep it watertight. But I don't have the luxury of doing that because I'm leaving for a trip and I've got to get this done today. So this video just got a little more technical than what I was planning on. But essentially what I'm going to do is there's 3 wires that are coming off of this connector. There are 3 wires in here. Now granted, there's 3 connectors, but you've got one that controls the brake light and 2 that control the bed light. And so those 2 that control the bed lights, even though they're 2 separate, they share a wire. So what I'm going to try to figure out is which wire on the new light controls the brake lights and which ones control the bed light. And then I'm going to figure out from here which one's the negative wire. So over here we have a black wire and a gray and a black. And here we have a green wire and a black. And here we have a black wire and a blue and a black. So these blue and the blacks are the same. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pop open the door, which is going to turn on the bed lights, and then I can do a little bit of testing. Alright, so I know by looking at this that I have two wires on here. One is black and one is black with a blue stripe. So one of those is going to control the light, the other is going to be the neutral wire. So I've just got to figure out which one is which. Alright, now I'm going to need a voltmeter for this. And if I do this, if I touch these two wires, and I'm assuming that the black one is neutral, and I am correct. So what will happen with a voltmeter if you touch positive and negative, if you have the positive right and the negative right, you should have around 12 volts on your voltage meter. If you have them backwards, then it'll be a negative number. So that tells me that this black wire is my neutral wire, and the other one, the blue and white stripe, is going to be, the black and blue stripe is going to be the positive for the brake lights. So if I'm looking at this connector, then most likely I'm going to have the black here as my neutral, and that could be wrong. And then the red, could be the white is the neutral, and the red should be the brake light. So what I'm going to do now, I know that I have my voltage coming off of here. I'm just going to make up two simple little wires that I can use to just basically run power to this, which is going to tell me which of these wires controls what. Okay, so I tried to test this on the lights and it wasn't working, so I actually took this directly to the battery, and all I'm doing, you can see here, I'm putting a wire into the black lead and a wire into the red lead, and I put this to the negative terminal on the battery, and I put the red one to the positive terminal on the battery, and when I did that, the brake lights lit up. Then I swapped it. I pulled the wire out of the red connector, put it into the white one, and touched the white one to the positive and the same black wire to the negative, and the bed lights lit up. So that tells me what wire is which on here. So I'm probably going to go ahead and just clip one of these lights off and tape it up. Then I'm going to clip the other one, and these will be probably my neutral and positive wire. And then I also have a neutral on the tail light, and so I'm going to figure out which one I'm going to use for which, and we'll get this all buttoned up. Alright, so a couple things. Use some rubbing alcohol and clean up around this edge so that when you put that 3M sealant down, it makes a good connection. This is what we're going to use to connect the wires. These are heat shrink, so you just use your crimpers, and I'll show you how to do this, and then you burn one side, both of these sides, and it seals down and makes a waterproof connection. Alright, so I'm going to cut these wires back here a little ways. That way, in case I ever wanted to reconnect these connectors, I've got some length in my wire to do so. Cut that one off, and I will cut this one off. Since I'm not going to be using one of these brake light connectors, I'm going to go ahead and just tape it up with some electrical tape. That way it's out of the way. We don't have to worry about it. Alright, now for this one, I'm going to go ahead and remove some of this black tape. When you do this, make sure you don't damage the wires underneath, so I'm actually going to try to do it without the knife first. Yeah, good. Alright, now, all of these black neutral connectors are the same for all three of these wires. So I can either use this one and ignore this one, or I can use this one down here. And looks like they are exactly the same, so I'm gonna go ahead and use this one since I know I got quite a bit of length there. I'll go down here and I'll cut this off, In this case, I'm not really worried about this black wire, so again, I'm going to cut the excess black tape off here. And I'm going to pull off some of this electrical wire and just go ahead and tape this wire down so we don't have to worry about it either. So now what we're left with is this green connector, this black with a blue stripe connector, and a black connector. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to go ahead and just cut some of this back, and then using my knife carefully, I'm just going to take some of the sheathing off of here. Now you can see the red, the black, and the white. And I will go ahead and strip these wires. Now, these appear to be 18 gauge wire. So, let's strip it off. Alright, so now I can take some of these shrink connectors and go ahead and attach them. So these shrink connectors are for 14 to 12 gauge, 14 to 16 gauge wire. These are 18, so I'm actually going to double it up right there so that there's more for that to bite to. And I'll just push it through and take my connector, make sure it's in there, and crimp it down. Make sure you pull on it to make sure it's not going to come out. And I'll do the same thing for the white and the black. Okay, now the only thing left to do is to go ahead and strip these wires back. And these are 16 gauge. So, alright, so the biggest thing whenever you go to connect these is to make sure you get the right color. The black and blue stripe goes to this white wire, which is the bed lights. So, I'm going to go ahead and attach that. Make sure that it's not going to come out. And now I can do neutral, just black wire to black wire, straight black. And then the last one is this green wire, which is the brake light. Which is going to go here. Alright, so there you go. Now before we go ahead and test all this and clean it all up, tape everything up, screw it all down, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to test it. I'm going to first of all peel this sticker off. Alright, so let's go ahead and button this up. So the way that you seal these connectors, it's actually really easy. You just take a lighter. They actually make a special tool for this, but a lighter works just fine. You'll notice that it constricts down onto that wire. For good measure, let's just go ahead and tape them all up. take this little glue strip sealing pad and feed it on here. You'll notice how it just sort of slides down on here. So I am going to go ahead and peel the backing off of here. And then carefully attach it. The final piece is to remove this last piece of backing. And I'm going to go ahead and put my screws through to make sure that when I stick this down, it actually lines up exactly where it needs to go. Like that. And screw it in. Make sure you push down and get a good seal, but don't go too tight that you crack it. Everything worked well. As always, get out there and fix something. I'll see you on the next video.